right, welcome everyone to another Owatonna Wrestling Weekly podcast. I'm Coach Derek Johnson, and with me is Coach Gabe Hovden. This is our post-state wrestling tournament broadcast, but first we're going to thank our sponsor, which is the Flemke Insurance Agency. So Ben Flemke and his team, proud supporters of the Owatonna Wrestling Association and this podcast, and they do such a great job hunting down the best deals for you and your family and your business in terms of insurance. They do the hard work for you. And so please trust in them and support a local business like that. They like to keep their dollars in the community.
Yep.
So thank you to Flemke Insurance Agency. Well, like I said, we just concluded the state wrestling tournament, the Minnesota State High School League wrestling tournament. We had 5 participants, 4 boys, 1 girl.
Yep.
And our sole place winner was our girl, Aliah Fischer, 8th grader at 142 pounds, took 5th. Very resounding 5th. How the girls bracket works, and this should be the last year that it works this way, is they have 8 girls in the bracket. You lose your first round, the best you can do is 5th. Well, they seeded, this was kind of the story of our tournament. She was a section champion, ranked 4th in the state, and yet had the number 2 ranked girl in the state who was also a section champion first round, who was the eventual state champion.
Yep.
Tie match going into the 3rd period. She was fighting really well, led up a takedown, and then we did get an escape in the final seconds. Probably a lot of stalemates that weren't called in that match. I'm not saying it's the best officiated match, but at the end of the day, Aliah knows, we're not blaming the refs at all. We know what we want to work on.
And she also wrestled this girl earlier in the season and
lost 4-0.
So, to lose, what was it, 6-5? 6-5?
Yep, didn't get ridden out. That was the story of that match, was all 4 points, I think, in the first match were, first period, and then Aliah got ridden out pretty much the rest of the match.
Yep.
So it didn't happen this time, and so close. Even had a really tight half going for a split second there, but rebounded really well with 2 resounding pins. Both girls she had pinned earlier in the season, and in her 5th place match, kind of a funny thing, one of the not the lead ref, but kind of that secondary ref, as he was coming around, goes, "Who the hell beat her?" Yeah. Because she was just pounding. It was already like an 8-0 match going into the 2nd period of the 5th place match, and we're just like, well, the eventual state champion. Yeah, and he's like, "Geez, oh my God." So, yeah, she was that dominating in the next 2 matches.
And she's only an 8th grader.
Yeah, and her bracket was almost all seniors.
Yep.
Just Rogotsky from Stillwater is the only other younger girl. She's a sophomore. So Aliah being an 8th grader, now she's a 2-time 5th place winner.
Yep.
In middle school. Yeah. So lots of wrestling left, and she's at that kind of weight class. 142 across the state is mainly upper class women. Yep. So. For her to be an 8th grader and to only have 4 losses on the entire season, 2 to the same girl, it was just 2 girls that beat her. Yep. Donat twice and Petzinger twice. Yep. So,
it's the only 2 people that have beaten her in the whole state.
Yeah. So congratulations, Aliah Fischer. We're gonna have her on next week. She had lacrosse captain's practice today, so that's why we don't have her right now. But
all right, so. Tough time for the boys.
So the draws were insane. So 107, Caden Lindquist, 8th grader, his 2nd time at state, still kind of an undersized 8th grader. He had the 1 seed first round.
I seen that on the bracket, and it was like, well, it's a good thing, but yet it's a bad thing.
Yes. So losing to that 1 seed, but wrestling tough, meant that he was pretty much guaranteed a 2nd match. Yep. So if you're not familiar on the boys' brackets, if you lose your first round, and the person who beat you that round loses their 2nd round, you're done.
You only get 1 shot.
1 shot. So this is probably the last year that happens too. It's been voted in to go double elimination no matter what throughout the entire tournament. We're just not sure if that's going to be next year or the year after. Okay. There's still some conjecture about it, because basically they have to build in, along with the girls' brackets, we're going to expand to 16 per weight class. that's a whole not
time-wise.
Yeah, it doesn't fit into the current
Yep.
state schedule. So do we add a session? Do girls, are they in the River Center next door
Yeah.
for their tournament? All kinds of questions we're kind of working through as a state coaching faculty staff. So, so Caden had his second shot against the number 7 ranked guy in the state for his second match, and had at first that's a very Wyatt Conan's a big dude, and first period didn't go the way we wanted, but then third period battles all the way back and takes him down. Should have been twice. The final 6 seconds of the match, Caden is finishing a single leg in a crackdown position, hooks the low leg, swims out. Well, the kid still had his ankle, but he's all the way past him and cross-facing and putting him in danger. We saw it called a takedown 10 more times in the tournament.
Yeah.
The refs wouldn't budge on that one.
Oh.
They didn't even discuss it.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't even converse. And it was like, I don't know what you're thinking. And for those of you who don't know, if a coach takes the ref to the table, it's not to challenge a call. They will absolutely not turn over a call. Anytime you see that, you're just asking for a clarification.
Yes, and the explanation of why they called it that way.
Right. So there's nothing we can do. It's final.
Yep.
And so that was disheartening, yet at the same time, I think he feels good about the effort and the matches he wrestled. He knows that should have been 2. It was just, it was a hard tournament. And that was kind of the story of the tournament, because then Trey Hyatt at 139 has the toughest bracket in the state. That bracket had 9 returning state place winners, all in the same bracket. It all kind of converged. And so he pulls Ian Schultz from STMA first round and wrestles a pretty good match. Got kind of blitzed at the beginning. Schultz has a really good low single, and that kind of torched him. But at the end of the match, when Trey, we've been working and evolving his underhook series. Okay. When he started working that, he was backing Schultz up off the mat over and over again. And so that's kind of the key. That's what he did to Zane Engels to get his big upset win in sections. We see that in his future, trusting that kind of move set and how that kind of unlocks his offense and keeps really, really fast guys from just kind of doing that John Smith single.
In and out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was one and done, though, because Schultz then turns around and loses to the number 2 ranked kid in the state, Parker Leiden, that second round. So instantly out. And then this to me was just, it's painful. So Blake Fischer at 215, section champion, gets rewarded with first round number 5 in the state, Brock Zern from Prior Lake. So that's how good Brock Zern's section was.
Yeah, because Blake took first, so he would get a guy that took second, a runner-up at a bracket, at sections.
Yeah.
Who is number 5 in the state?
Number 5 in the state.
So who beat him to take first in their section?
Yeah, and I even forgot who it was. We were trying to figure out what section.
Did he get caught, or?
No, I think it was another ranked kid.
Okay.
And that's just the thing. So Blake got taken down in some backs at the beginning of the first period, which I think he got his bell rung. I think had he had a deeper tournament, we might have had some concussion concerns there. But second period, even in that kind of haze, he slaps on a bar arm, takes him over, had him stuck right away. That was the thing, is eventually Zern got a really good bridge in, but man, he was stuck right away and the refs weren't there for it. And finally rolls out of that bar. Blake runs another bar, throws it right back on to take him over, and it just got a little slippery. Okay. And when he turned around for a reversal, left his arm high, got caught, and you could just tell he was just done. He couldn't really fight anymore. So, and then Zern turns around and has the number 1 kid in the state, eventual state champ, Quinn Morgan, second round. So, boom. Yep. Blake's out of the tournament. Out. Yeah. And then Grant Lauer, our heavyweight, senior heavyweight, section champion, which, I mean, gosh, what a story. We had him on here this year. Started wrestling his freshman year. 1-4. We calculated it. We forgot that his 1 from the 1-4 sophomore year was a forfeit. So never had a win until his junior year when he became a starter and had 25 wins, took 4th in the section his junior year. This year, his senior year, section champion, 2-time all-conference. He goes to the state tournament as a section champion and gets the number 6 ranked guy in the state, Cole Will, at heavyweight, who got upset by Hastings. A non-ranked Hastings kid stuck Cole Will, caught him in the section finals. And Grant wrestled a pretty dang good match. Not that it was like a 50-50, but Cole Will was kind of an undersized heavyweight, really muscular kid.
And just faster.
Yeah, and by the end, Grant was taking him down and stuff, but just too little, too late.
Okay.
So, and then Cole Will turns around and
who did he get beat by?
It might have been Tuttle from Stillwater, eventual finalist. Yeah. There's just no shot in those situations.
With that first loss at the state tournament, that's been the way for years.
Yeah, decades.
And it sucks for somebody. I mean, I've seen number 1 ranked guys in state get caught in the first round against a kid that took second out of sections that snuck in somehow.
Yeah.
And then they're out of the tournament after first round.
And to that point, number 2 in the state at 152, Apollo Ashby from Mounds View was knocked out first round.
Yeah.
Like, just done.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the state.
Yeah, he probably got caught or just, didn't have a good match. And
this happened to, so Trey Hyatt took second in sections. The kid who beat him, Brody Ignashevsky, got caught in a cradle 20 seconds in and was done from the tournament. He had a 22nd state tournament from Albert Lee. Ryan Kuiper of Northfield, section champ, done after the first round. Owen Murphy, Lucas Peterson, I think it was everyone above 150 or above 145 in Section 1 AAA was done the first round of their tournament. Like, just brutal. So I was getting texts that day, and it's like, I don't know, man. You look around. It's happening to everyone. Like, it was just wild.
And it's nothing new. Everybody, it's not something new where kids are like, oh, I didn't get a chance. Well, you know what's going to happen. You lose that first round. Yeah. You have a chance to be done. Mm-hmm. And it stinks, but, I mean, they made it to state, which is a good thing. They did make it there.
Yeah, and talking about that, I mean, Aliah, 8th grade. Caden Lindquist, 8th grade. Trey Hyatt, sophomore, second time at state tournament. Blake Fischer, junior, and then Grant was a senior. So we're losing Grant. But it was a good second trip for literally everyone that's returning again. So all those people qualified for state last year.
Good.
So I think we got the bright lights out of the way and proved some things to ourselves and learned how to mitigate our nervousness. When the big lights hit. So. All in all, I mean, it was great, and it was especially great to hear a lot of the wrestlers. On Thursday night, we have to get there to check in for the next day, and we kind of forced all the wrestlers to be with us and watch all the teams wrestling, the placing round. Yep. And I think that was a good experience. That's all I've heard since was like, oh, man, our team next year, It might sound strange to the wrestling community. That's kind of the first time that it's not me leading that conversation, that it's the wrestlers thinking more about the team
for the
and
future.
Like what we can do and how we can come together. And it's it's taken a little bit of time. The culture that we've been trying to grow first started with their own individual work ethic, and now they're starting to think, okay, we have that part down. We're good there. How do we hold each other accountable now? How do we, really work in the off season? Because in season, we're the hardest working team in the state. But everyone knows that's only 15 weeks out of 52. And the best teams in the state stay together, work hard together.
They're putting in 50 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they're working. I mean, you look at some of these towns. I mean, I'm not going to call any towns out because I don't want to.
Right.
I know exactly which ones I want to talk about.
Well, but let's say Chatfield.
Yes.
That's a good program we can get behind.
Yep.
It's hard to root against Chatfield. Great people, great families.
Yeah.
Chatfield.
The kids go to the gym together.
Yes.
They work out. I mean, they live, breathe for 2 hours a day. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. Yep. They go and work out, and it shows. I mean,
for sure.
I mean, the other towns that we've wrestled this year, it shows all the way down to the junior high. Yeah. I mean, I was seeing it out of these teams. I mean,
those Zumbrota
kids
with traps in 8th grade.
As 8th graders, I mean, they're coming out wrestling, and I'm sitting there going, wow, they're already lifting. I mean, it's not going to. We have something we can follow now, and Absolutely. If we do it, we'll be just as good.
Well, and that's a thing I've even I observed that my first year back coaching. That's changed a lot. Is I look back at our really good teams in the 90s and 2000s, and not everyone, in fact, most of the team wasn't dedicated to strength training in the off season. Those teams, I'm sorry to say, teams that I was a part of, we wouldn't have been good if we had only done what we did. Mm-hmm. It takes a whole different level of dedication nowadays to weight training, to getting extra mat time in and everything like that. And it's not that we want one sport athletes, we want multi-sport athletes. It's just you're going to have to do a little bit of extra on top of everything. On top of,
like,
not instead of other sports, but just on top of it.
You have to do more. You're going to have to spend more time training.
Yeah.
And lifting ain't going to hurt you for your other sports.
Right. And as we talk to, the strength and conditioning coaches here at the high school that we've collaborated with a lot, they wish other programs would do and have a dedication to what we're doing and about to launch this off season, which is pod-based lifting. So it's a coach and then a couple of team leaders and then a roster of younger wrestlers. Yep. All holding each other accountable, planning it out, being very deliberate about how we train and when we train, because it's not enough to just go to Anytime Fitness by yourself.
And are you really lifting? I mean, and that's the thing. Are you pushing yourself? Now you got somebody standing right next to you that, if they're both if one works hard, the other one's going to work hard.
Yeah, compete against each other. Honestly, that's what we always talk about. Is like you can compete even in those type of moments, which is going to push you harder. And we need that. So, So I mean that's what we're starting here this spring. We did the orientation today for it. It's also why we don't have another wrestling guest. Is we just had him here after school for a couple hours, and we're going to let him go for a little bit, but we'll have some guests next week. But why don't you talk a little bit about Min USA and Freestyle Greco?
Well, we got the USA tournament coming up this weekend for folk style for U6, U8, 10, 12, and 14s have to qualify top 4 at this tournament. If they haven't qualified at another tournament yet, they got to qualify at this one for state, which is on the 15th, 16th, and 17th over in Rochester. Okay. It's, just an open tournament, but it's regional, so they have to qualify. I mean, kids have had to make the U12 and under has had to score so many points from going to other tournaments to qualify. You had to have 30 points.
Okay.
So now it's here. The cadets and girls don't need to qualify for state because most of them are already wrestling high school or they're cadets. So the girls don't have to because they're still growing. They're welcoming them in for all ages on girls, which the girls will wrestle on Friday, and then the boys wrestle Saturday and Sunday. The little ones and the girls wrestle Friday, and then the rest wrestle on Saturday and Sunday on the 15th, 16th, 17th.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you want to see some little kid folk style wrestling, kids coming from all over the state to wrestle here at the high school on Sunday. March 10th. Yep. And then we got freestyle registration is open. Just go to Owatonna Wrestling Association's Facebook page, website, and just start navigating around in that to
pretty easy to find.
Yeah. All Owatonna school district kids, all of them that from Owatonna schools, it's free. The one thing I would suggest is getting a USA card. That's the program we wrestle in. It's $50 for the card. That card gets you into tournaments, and then tournaments are like $10 a tournament.
Okay.
So then that's for freestyle and Greco. And then we have, I think we are, on my schedule that I'm just finalizing now, I think we have 7 tournaments that a coach will be at. There's one way up north that we take that weekend off. It's just, and for an open tournament, we don't go over and stay overnight.
Sure.
And then we got state, and practices are going to, as of right now, depending on numbers, are from 7 to 8:15 ish.
Yep.
If our numbers get big, I do have the room rented, so we can each have, I'll have little kids in there 6 to 7, and then older kids 7 to 8.
Oh, okay.
And then depending on numbers and everything, we can adjust our time. I mean, we might end up, hey, 6 o'clock work for everybody, and go 6 to 7, so we're not in there late at night. Or it just depends on the numbers thing.
Sure.
So make sure you get registered. It is an open club, so out of town kids, if anybody's listening, it is $50 to register, and you can come wrestle for us and just get some more mat time in.
Yeah. Nice.
I do have one thing over here I want to.
Oh, okay.
We are doing a spaghetti supper for the Wrestling Association fundraiser. It is to help the kids pay for camps this summer. Help 3 girls that are going out to the U.S. U15 and U17 World Trials. So they're selling these tickets. All high school wrestlers are selling these tickets. Anybody that wants to go to camps, it's a spaghetti feed at the Knights of Columbus, the KC Hall, on May 9th from 5 to 7. Tickets are $10 in advance or $11 at the door. So,
and let's do in advance, because then the OWA gets a cut. That's how the kids earn their way in. So, and honestly, I think we're already, so the tickets have been, we passed those out today. However, I think we're going to go back and request some more. To make it available for like the current 6th and 7th graders, even to help pay for camps too. So we already gave out the first batch of 700 to sell. So if you know a wrestler between grades 9 through 11 for sure, and quite a few 8th graders, they already have these tickets. Go ahead and hit them up. And that's 2 months away, Thursday, May 9th. It all goes to a good cause, which is to help mitigate camp costs and then travel costs for that tournament.
Costs for tournaments. I mean, and this goes to kids that just want to travel and go learn more.
And the OWA actually also provides money, so this is on top of what the benefits that we already provide. The OWA, we allocate that money in a budget. And so, this is on top of that.
This is above and beyond that. For the more expensive ones, I mean, each kid gets a certain amount that, when they qualify for stuff. I mean, that's what our board does.
Because we never want to,
deny.
We never want the reason that a kid doesn't get more tutelage or have cool experiences to just be a money issue.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, is mitigate as much as we can. So.
And this is prime example of what we do is fundraise for little things like this, and this is an easy one. Everybody gets a meal, go down to KC Hall, and
if people wonder, I mean, that's exactly what that gun raffle we did is also used for. It's to help, the gun raffle specifically actually helps all of our OWA youth enter tournaments for free and stuff like that. So that's everything we do is just, it's for the kids. So love doing that.
So
awesome.
Well, so now moving on to the next season of wrestling.
Yeah. No, I was telling you today, we talked a little bit more about freestyle Greco and how it can help fill in some of the gaps in technique and help with hips and shot defense and everything like that. We talked about that with the high schoolers, and I think sparked some more kids to come out and try it and everything. I know we're going to have a lot of cool coaches rotating in and out of that room.
I got some college kids that have wrestled, that are actually old alumni that are willing. I've already talked to a few. I'll come in and show my favorite freestyle move or my favorite Greco move. I know there's some that are still active that I'll come in and show a move that I enjoy doing. And it's just all about learning different moves. And hey, this move might come in handy. I mean, freestyle and folk style, there's maybe only 10% difference. It's one is scoring, and it's just exposing your back. I mean, we still do single legs, double legs, front heads. I mean, if you can throw on a half in freestyle, you got one heck of a half.
Right. Yeah.
The arm bar rolls, the gator rolls. I mean, that stuff. It all can be used in freestyle and in folk style.
Yeah. I mean, it's as I was telling the wrestlers, like it helped my shot defense so much to where, I had my sprawl, but then now I also have different types of go behinds based on throwing the whizzer first and then changing directions, getting around the edge. A big thing that I talk about, and I can kind of clearly see where we're going to have problems, is something near and dear to me is the underhook series, like I talked about, where a lot of the wrestlers, they don't understand feeling the hips, and it's like, oh yeah, that's the Greco part, that's the freestyle part, is just knowing when to feel a throw coming, and how to defend it and drop down and things like that.
To drop down, get out of it, or go, like even if you're in Greco, you can still drop down to the upper part of the body.
Right.
And that's just like a really high double leg, basically. Yeah. I mean, everything intertwines.
So highly recommended. I know, it's a little bit different than back in our day where folk style was like done by now.
So there's a little bit. This last weekend was the end of folk style back in the day.
Yeah. So I highly encourage. You've said this before, our practices for freestyle Greco are not conditioning based. Nope. It's not. I always marveled at, like, why do you have an intensive camp after Fargo Nationals in the summer?
Yeah.
Like, what is this for?
Yeah.
So we think about things like that and try to make it as efficient but as fun as possible too.
I mean, we are going to break a sweat. You are going to wrestle.
Right.
We're not doing sprints. We're not doing all that stuff. We do our warm-up, we learn our moves, then we go and wrestle.
Right.
And that's basically a practice.
Yeah.
In and out.
Right. So that, and then one more announcement. I'll be basically pushing this out to social media this week as far as our Owatonna Wrestling Banquet, which is honoring our high school and middle school wrestlers, but also it's open to the public, and we highly encourage. It's a good opportunity to mingle, and I know one thing I do want to point out is the concessions liaison, Nancy Benson, just caught me before I was coming up here, and she said, and I want to thank the Owatonna wrestling community, we by far buried every other sport with our home concessions dollars this year than anyone else. Like our community came out in droves. For East, I know Winona's a hard ticket, but for East, for Albert Lee, for the Faribault meet, she was amazed. She said, across the board, we beat basketball every single time, and that boys basketball only had like one game that even rivaled where we were at for concessions. So thank you to the Owatonna wrestling community.
Yes.
It's so great to see, and yeah, if you could come to the banquet, we'll be publishing that information too. It's always a good time. I try to kind of joke with the kids, and you will get to know them as I have a blurb for all of them. And it's just a great, kind of loving atmosphere, supportive atmosphere. So awesome. Well, this was kind of like our state recap and spring preview. We'll have some of the wrestlers on next week. And we'll be doing the podcast through the month of April, most likely. And stay tuned. We'll be right back. So, all right. Well, thank you much. For Coach Hovden, Coach Johnson here. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.